Sageless comp. So we're going to be hopping into the game now. We're going to see if either of these teams are continuing that trend. I know that a few squads like Built by Gamers are just dropping Sage entirely, but for many, Sage is still used, and it actually looks like both of these squads are still going to keep Sage on the roster despite being on Ascent.
Yeah, really interesting stuff to start, and these compositions, I think, that's a factor of the game that teams are still working out. I think that they're going to be working it out for quite some time. I'm just excited to see some gameplay. We're getting into it now with the pistol. Nothing really too surprising here. No shorties. Obviously, just going with that 5 ghost setup on the attacking side.
Yeah, we see a lot of posturing here. A early on, likely going to be a fast push into where we see a Cypher lurking, but it's pistol round, right? So it's not going to be a full Cypher setup. He's going to get this cam out, but it's going to give up the position real quick as he gets forced out of the way there with the shock dart. He's going to back up, expecting a faster push, but now they have slowed their pace a bit. We see the rotation from Breach potentially from mid, but he's kind of dancing around a bit, a little indecision.
And straight into A to start things off, and a great paranoia only merits a single frag. Attacking 3 for 3, and the A site instantly falls. This is a massively decent afterplant. Sage and Sova will likely be held outside of this A site as the pistols try and chip and chime through. I don't think this Sheriff's enough to get the job done. Another cam to give away all of the positional advantage. No real saving needs to come into effect here in the pistol. You won't get a massive economic advantage, but with Bergie finding another one, that's really the pistol round over. And well, a great A take there. The paranoia almost fell on deaf ears. A really decent flash, but 1-0 as a result.
I really liked what I saw from Sinatra there. They were outnumbered, but he used the sonar arrow to find somebody down in the hell area and then tried to use that sheriff to get the wall bang. Really heads up play when you really are behind in numbers and you have to catch yourself up. But sadly, was not enough to get the job done here. And that's going to be first round win, pistol win on the side of Renegades. And despite that, it does not look like many folks are going to be forcing it. There is one Vandal on the side of Renegades, though.
Yeah, you always want the punching power of that single rifle to carry you through a second round like this. Even against the pistols, they can always cause complications here and there. A split burst onto mid only merits the single result. And now Renegades want to breach back in and actually find a couple of kills of their own. Really decent damage here from the Sentinels, all things considered. A couple of rifles drop, and it's down to CP2 to get the damage done. The Nova bolts aren't really going to do all too much damage, as it's 2-0 to Renegades to start us off.
Yeah, you could see the power of that Vandal coming into play there as they took mid control and used the long-range firepower to their advantage, but now that you're up 2-0, we're going to see full buys from both squads. CP2 still holding on to that Vandal, but everybody else opting for either Phantoms or, in the case of Bergie, we also see the Operators. So this is where, if you are Sentinels, you are looking to bounce back because you have the arsenal to do so. This is your real trial by fire, if you will.
Cypher, of course, towards the A site once again, getting that early information and just backtracking away. That spy cam's really powerful to control this lobby area. Obviously, Renegades, they can't get anywhere close to this A site without getting initially spotted and finally taking that cam out. They'll go for the instant burst, and it'll be used with the Phoenix Flash to start things off. A 1-for-0 trade as Cypher instantly falls. This is going to be another retake scenario, surely, from the Sentinels.
Yeah, the Renegades have been phenomenal on their entries so far, but Shazam does get this pick here against CP2 to even the numbers up a bit. And now we're going to see a lot of utility being used as they attempt this retake. Nerfed with a double now, taking down Sick and Shazam. Sinatra does eliminate Bergie, though, and with Savage picking off Sinatra in the counter, it's now 3v1 as Winsome uses the curve, cleans it up, and this is going to be a 3-0 start in favor of Renegades.
perfectly eviscerating those rifles over by A. As soon as Cypher falls, the defense kind of comes collapsing down along with him. There's no real punching power from those defenders to actually get the job done. The rotate was perfectly in time, and yeah, you saw Shazam only meriting one opening pick back in the retake. It just wasn't enough. Those 5 versus 4 situations are really damn difficult to get onto that, especially A site. On the defender's side, we'll see pistols come through once again. Not really much equity in this 4th for the Sentinels, and this is a really bad start for the favorites.
Yeah, it's not where you want to be to start for sure. You would prefer to have at least one round under your belt by now, but this is a very interesting start here for Renegades. They'd had a lot of success with these 5-man pushes, but now they are spread out. You've got 2 players making a lot of noise there in the B main area. Meanwhile, the Spike and everyone else is playing it slow back, trying to get some picks. Sometimes you like to say in Valorant that there's no such thing as a fair fight. You want to make sure that you have that numbers advantage, and Renegades has been great at that. I think they're trying to recreate that here, but slower pace to start.
It's also all about those off angles. If you can actually catch one of these attacks by surprise, there's every opportunity. You can kind of snowball that advantage to start, even with a couple of pistols in hand. See Renegades now prioritizing the A site once again, and the gamble over towards B for Sentinels means they should not have much of a defense here. Only Omen to hold up the line. This Aldrone's going to get the majority of that early information, and the paranoia is going to really be no stalemate. Only 15 seconds left, and the kills are starting to come through. There's the incendiary too. The whole defense falls. Should be an easy spike plant, and the round with it. 4-0 here. Surely.
Yeah, this is quite the uphill battle if they wanted to even try to take this retake 3v5. You've got heals now going out as well. The door is shut. Lots of utility being used. That was such a beautiful hot hand earlier when the player was trapped, but Sid does pick off Randy Savage here. CP2 eliminates Sinatra and is looking to stall even further. I still have to believe ultimately that this round is going to go in favor of Renegades, but it looks like Sentinels want to get some picks. Unfortunately, it's actually Renegades that do so. They get the win. That's going to be some more economic pressure.
Really, the major goal in a retake scenario like that is to do as much economical damage as possible. You see that the bank accounts are running fairly low. Obviously, on Sentinels, they have to pretty much force buy everything into this one. It's the 5th, and they've yet to take a round. Whereas, on the Renegade side, you see that economy starting to build. I think that was $5,000 on at least 2 members right there. And starting to change up the pace with a little bit of aggression. The initial flashbang comes through, and Shazam's going to take one for his troubles. There's the wall as a response. And, well, this should really get the job done. Cypher not falling on B until perhaps it's too late. His Napper still punching through a little bit of damage. And maybe a little bit of equity here for Renegades. The spray, it comes all the way in for Sinatra. He's doing tons of damage. And Zom's going to find one as a response. Spike yet to go down, but both of these attackers are isolated and no opportunity for a plant. Bergie drops. This should be the round over.
Yeah, Nerf unfortunately just has 17 health in a dream, and you might take this plant if you want the money, perhaps another pip towards your ult. Does look like that's going to be the case, but you have to assume he's going to pay for it with his life with only 17 health. Does get the smoke down. Actually looks like he's going to stick around long enough to maybe get a pick or two before he falls. I think that is the play here, but this is going to be actually a frag over to Zoms. It looked like it might have been Sinatra cleaning it up with that Odin spray, but Zoms is the one credited with the kill, and Sentinels are on the board now. That's exactly what they needed. They needed to break the momentum of Renegades, but they did have those credits stored up, so you have to assume we'll be getting full buys all the way around, and it does look like that's going to be mostly the case. Randy Savage and CP2 will have to go with the smaller shields, but otherwise a full arsenal. Bergie had enough to rebuy the operator as well, and still has a decent number of credits left over. And that's rare on Sage. Sage is an expensive agent to play.
This is where things start to get interesting. Sentinels on this defensive side really need to start to chain rounds together right now. One is certainly not good enough at this point, and with a missed bolt, that's going to be no information and also no damage gained. A slow stalemate to begin this 6th. A little bit of short control for the Sentinels. I really liked that previous aggressive play and a pair of headshots for Shazam to open things through, and the flashbang too converts his 3rd headshot of the round. It's all versus the operator, but he's forced into Shazam's crosshairs. All 4 for him. A beautiful round to control the middle of the map, and 4-2 being the result. Sentinels, yeah, starting to pull this one back here.
Yeah, I really like what I'm seeing from them the last 2 rounds. It's almost like they put a pin in the fact that Renegades had been playing slow. They started with those 5-man pushes, but then after that, they went to this kind of spread out, slow play for picks. Sentinels answered back by playing aggressive, getting early picks, getting their first round win. And then this time, again, the patience and then the awareness for Shazam to say, okay, if they're slow walking up mid, now is when I peak. Finds them immediately, got the double, then cleaned up 2 others. Beautiful play from Shazam there. Breach is a monster with those flashes in that mid area as well, but looks like Renegades are going back to that 5-man push as they enter on A here. No damage quite yet, though we do hear the Hunter's Fury going out. Is it going to find any targets? It does find Nerfed, and Dapper also takes down Bergie. Shazam picking one off Sick, and all of a sudden, it's just Winsome by his lonesome. Shazam ends that, and this is going to be in favor of Sentinels again, and this is a huge swing in momentum. You are up 4-0, suddenly it's 3-4, and your economy is not that great.
I really like that attempt there for Renegades. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Sending all 5 players straight towards the A site once again, and they're always forcing these retake after plant scenarios. This time it's Shazam and Sick to clamp down upon A in the retake, finding 3 of those 5 frags to finish things off, and Shazam's been a massively influential player to get things started. 9-5.
Shadows traveling.
So we see these smokes going out, and a lot of utility used mid, but nobody's really home. We see CP2 here making a lot of noise, but the plan at the moment appears to be this push into A. And this is always interesting because it's hard to get information from this angle without peeking or maybe sending in a sonar arrow, but that kind of gives away that you are hard stacked in this. And just like that, Zombs and Dapper both find some damage. CP2 does use the Hunter's Fury to pick up Zombs, but Sick answers again, and this is the problem with the 5-man pushes into A, is at times you're just funneling yourself into the spray of the opponents. Nerfed does find Shazam, but Sick brings him back up and answers with a headshot on Nerfed. And again, unfortunately, it's looking like this is going to be a big round for Shazam. Shazam is absolutely popping off these last 3 rounds. We're going to see the scoreboard here. Now up to 10-6 after a slow start. Really finding his momentum. Has this operator now with 7,600 credits to spare.
And really in that scenario, I feel like Renegades are starting to fall into predictability. They've actually thrown all of their approach into the A site 7 out of 8 times. And you see the way that Sentinels actually adapt to this by putting 3 defenders towards that side of the map. I feel like Renegades now need a change of pace, maybe slow things down and send their approach towards B for a bit of a change and maybe take a bit of mid control. You see that they're finally starting to pressure this operator, and Shazam, he's going to step up with the first, and there's the wall to create a further stalemate. Not much that Renegades can do about this one, and I really do feel like Sentinels are starting to clamp down, control this map. 4 rounds in a row on Ascent as well. That's definitely not a massively opportune scoreline for this Renegade side. They've got to get the ball rolling once again, and it feels like the momentum is firmly on this defender's side. Adding insult to injury, they lose Sova to start, and this looks like another easy Sentinels performance. With the curveball not connecting, and only the pistols to try and do the damage. This is going to be a brutal crossfire here. Sick and Dapper pretty much finish everybody off. And there's Dapper to finish.
Yeah, this was a great positioning from Sentinels because after they got the early pick, they knew that by clamping down on mid, by establishing that mid control, the opposing squad had to either funnel into those tight areas, which has not been working for them, or they had to come back to mid. So they waited out utility, they tried to come in, the crossfire was set up. It was really very, very easy for Sentinels to defend that because of the numbers advantage. And that's the power of those early picks. Now we see them spreading out, so trying to get away from that predictability you talked about, but also trying to avoid mid because I don't think they want to run into Shazam anymore.
He's certainly one to avoid, right? 11 kills already, averaging 1 kill per round. And remember, he didn't have this operator in hand for quite some time, going down 0-4 early. Felt like Renegades had a really good chance in this one, but the backswing has been equally, if not more, strong. Now Drone's not really going to get all too much information. And now the run it back is the key player to watch. Winsome starting things off here towards A. He really needs this opening frag, and Sova's going to chop and chime him away. A seems to be closed for business right now. Sentinels once again just adapting this defense. Soms right around that smoke. Beautiful stuff, and peppering further shots through. With the beautiful angle there. Winsome and Bergie both fall. It seems like Renegades have somewhat of an answer, but without the spike down, very little pressure applied. And there's 30 seconds left to get this one done. Sentinels, they're left, right, and center right now.
Nerfed is trying to make something happen here with this Odin that he's picked up, but he's trapped. There's no way he's gonna be able to get that done. And I loved what I saw from Zombs that round. The smoke placement was outstanding. It was just in a position where the folks traveling through that little connector couldn't see down, but because of his position on the elevation, he could see kind of over the crescent of the smoke, and that allowed him to pick up that triple kill at a really great angle for him that made visibility hard for Renegades. That was just beautifully executed. I loved what I saw there.
And right,
now it does
a very abusive setup just to steal away a couple of kills. And Sentinels, they've been throwing in these sort of aggressive approaches left, right, and center. You see Dapper instantly getting punished this time. And that gives Cypher's ult. So all of the information given and a Phantom to go with it.
Yeah, that was a very important early pick, getting the headshot there with the Sheriff, because that means you can pick up the AR. We see Randy Savage now getting another kill with it. The Cypher also gave him the information, and that was huge. We can see now they're going to get this plant down. It's a numbers advantage 4v2, and they can get in these post-plant setups. So it's amazing how one first blood can completely change around. But when you're these pro teams and you can exploit that, look at Sinatra just trying to find anybody home. So close a couple of times there with the Odin spray. Sick does get a pick and a res, and they might be able to retake this.
That Odin seems so powerful, and now they have to walk into the crossfire once again. They deal with it with just the sleight of hand of diving down, and it seemed like Renegades were completely caught off guard by that one, just overwhelmed by the pressure of that retake. 7-4, and they recover really nicely, Sentinels, from that disastrous 4-round start. It's a sea of blue to finish off this first half, and maybe this might change the tide for this series. Those first couple of rounds are overwhelmingly important here in Valorant, where if you take the pistol on both sides, it's a massive advantage. With the reverse swing, I feel like this is almost Sentinel's map to lose already. We know that they've got a good attacking side. We've seen it before multiple times now through their Ignition series previous performances. And well, they've got to defend just one more time to secure a fairly overwhelming 8-4 start.
Yeah, even when Renegades looked like they were going to recapture some momentum that last round. Again, they had that 4v2 numbers advantage at one point. I was heaping praise on them, and then I caster cursed them. Bergie there does get a pick, but Sentinels just seems to have their number. They're answering back, and even here, right, we see Bergie get another pick, but Dapper picks one up as well. So again, numbers advantage. They're pushing into A. This is the Renegades formula, it would seem. Sinatra is eliminated. That gets rid of the Odin that played a big role in the retake last time, but Sick getting yet another pick. Feels like he is very, very good at getting these. Dodges the Hunter's Fury here, gets a heal off as well. And does finally fall to nerfed, and it's up to Shazam if he wants to try to 1v3 this. It does look like that's actually what he wants to do. He's looking for the peak. Nerf finds the headshot. So this will be a 7-5 half in favor of Sentinels. They're going to be they're going to be swapping sides now, and we're going to have to watch how this pistol round develops.
I would say that they've got a shallow lead going into this second half, Sentinels. If they can take a pistol round, I might even adjust that to be slightly overwhelming. I wouldn't be entirely surprised if we see a pretty one-sided scoreline to start. Sentinels, of course, the favorites, and well, showing us why here. That half was just, well, smokes galore, very abusive setups to steal away those opening kills. And now on the attacking side, we'll see how bolstered these attacking setups actually are and how quickly they can steal away frags. You see Winsome denied any information right there. Of course, the Recon Bolt doing a tiny bit of damage with a combination of that Sheriff. And now Zombs, he finds the first, it's all walled off, and this B site is up for grabs once more. Sova trying to pick apart the first portion of the setup. It's Winston, TP2 instead, another beautiful headshot. Sheriff in hand, and a third! Sick falls, and Sinatra finally able to get the job done. There's the spike down, another 1 versus 2 here, and it seems to be the Sheriff in hand. He's going to need a beautiful performance to keep this scoreline rolling. A great paranoia is going to completely render him blind. A good bit of damage to start us off here on the retake as he's trying to pop a shots through, but there's only 6 bullets left. And Randy's able to finish him through. 6-7, and exactly what Renegades needed.
Sinatra tried really hard with the wall bangs, was so close to getting it to a 1v1, but CP2 there really gave Renegades the opportunity by getting that 3K with the Sheriff. He basically said, hey, this Sheriff is in town. I am the law. You're not coming to Site B. Curious to see if Sentinels is going to run this back. I was getting a little bit excited because I see CP2 is going to be doing his best Sinatra impression here with the Odin. Likely going to be on Site B. I think this is why so many teams usually avoid Site B, because it's so easy to wallbang this corridor. And I'm going to expect this arrow to come out followed by Odin's spray. But Sentinels avoids that. They go mid. I think they know better, especially with somebody like Sinatra on their squad who likes to abuse that Odin on this map in particular. Fergie with a quick pick.
And Winsome to close the second out. Nice incendiary to follow, but it's nevertheless still the 2-for-2 trade. Now the Odin comes into play, and CP2 out in the open, comfortable at taking these engagements, and still up for grabs, wants to just wallbang Dapper away, and Sinatra versus the world here in the 1 versus 3. It's nicely contained, 7-7 is with even Stevens here, Charmer.
Yeah, even Stevens, but this is where we're running into what will be the full buy round on the side of Sentinels. So we see the Phantoms on the other side because of the half buy scenario of the previous round. You're not going to buy up, you're going to keep these Spectres, and this might end up being a moment where Sentinels are a bit favored as a result. They're going to be pushing in. If you're going to swing momentum back, this would be the time to do it. But so far, I like what I've seen from both teams. This is an ebb and flow style of match.
Really close. 7-7, as narrow as it gets here. And on Ascent with play on both sides. I would expect this close scoreline to maintain until the very end. I love this aggression from Winsome. He's right behind the attack, and with Cypher gone, that's the advantage that Renegades were looking for. But they do give away the A site as a compromise, and there's the spike down and away. But in the 5 versus 4 scenario, this is one that obviously they'll certainly want to go for. Shazam evening up the engagements, keeping the numbers 4 versus 4 before this retake can come through. Randy's going to be the anchor here from behind. And with everybody flashed on through, Winsome's going to find his first. And not converting to the second, it's Shazam instead. With the combination with Sinatra, just chopping and chiming them away. 8-7 as a result, and that's the swing back again.
I don't know if you noticed the animation there, but it looks like Winsome flashed himself. He got just a hair too antsy trying to make that play. And very interesting result there, because it was almost like Sentinels took a page out of the Renegade playbook. They pushed onto A, they got the plant, and then they had to defend it. But this time around, Sentinels got the job done. And as I said before, that puts momentum back in their favor. So despite the 2-0 start from Renegades here, it's now Sentinels with the full buys and the 1-round lead. And it's going to be up against an eco round. And Sick here with this Phantom gets that pick on Winsome. Again, ARs versus pistols. This is kind of what you expect. We see the boosted Sage up there, but not much you can do. Sheriff versus a Phantom. Sick now with 2 kills. Bergie does get one on Dapper and Savage on Shazam, though, so if they can pick up guns, they might be able to even this out. The res goes out 6 up to a 3K, and once more, going to be pushing out into mid here, trying to cut off any potential rotations for a retake, but at this point, I think that they are going to be retreating, potentially just trying to deny the extra money and extra ultimate pips from the opposing squad, because that Cypher is just sitting alone on site A.
This is really interesting. I feel like we're seeing just so many creases and folds in this Sentinels attacking side right now, where they're definitely drilled in. The unfortunate factor for Renegades is they've only taken 1 rifle round this whole map thus far, and the scoreline as a result looks deceptively close. Now with rifles in hand, I feel like it should be Sentinels starting to apply the pressure, and that's exactly what we've seen, right? Just taking the approach towards mid, towards B, opening up those engagements. I feel like Renegades are going to be under pressure, and as a result, they go for this double operator setup. They've got the Phantoms and the Odin in hand to try and chime through with at least something here, but they're behind right now. They've not taken many rifle rounds, as I said, only 1, and this is where they have to try and claw back a couple before this becomes unmanageable.
I actually really like this setup from the side of Renegades as they try to clamp down. Gives you an operator potentially for mid, 1 for A, and then you have the Odin that can cover B and really just wreak havoc on anybody trying to push through that corridor. So from a defensive standpoint, I like their game plan. We see Nerf gets this pick on Shazam. That's a very important pick here early on, but it looks like all the rest of the action is going to be over here on site A as they try to drone it for some info. Wall's going to get shut, and that means they're going to rotate away and either push through mid or take the long path to B, but it looks like mid is going to be the play for at least the spike.
Well, with 45 seconds left, we see Sentinels start to slow things down, especially a player behind. They want these start cover to fade away so they can crunch in on A, and 6 going to be that side prod. They've got 3 defenders to deal with, and Randy, he doesn't miss the shot. There's the opener, straight through the smoke, just whiffing by a whisker on the second. And Sentinels are almost out of time right now. They need to pressure into A, and with only 10 seconds left on the clock, and Randy still hasn't been taken care of. It's a close shot from the operator to eliminate another. Sick falls. And this will be the reverse sweep, 9-8. And as I said, only Renegade's second rifle round victory this whole map.
It's just something specifically satisfying about the point blank scoped in operator eliminations, because you know, you peek a corner like that and oh, there's an entire body in front of me. I can't miss this. I just left click and I eliminate. But that was a great round on the side of Renegades, exactly what they needed. They bought heavily there. They couldn't afford to lose many members. Thankfully, they did not, and so they get to maintain the setup again with multiple operators and the Odin. I like their defensive game plan. This time they catch him with the arrow, so the Odin's going to come into play, and we see the wall bang, and it's just not getting enough damage because of the boxes there. Sick knows exactly where to stand. The shock dart does catch some incidental damage, but they're still going to be pushing through this B corridor. Or at least trying to get some information. The spike is still dropped back, so they're very clearly, I think, trying to bait out utility, maybe get a pick. They do actually get a pick. CP2 falls, so the Odin has been eliminated. Dapper in the corner, though. He's going to get forced out by this Hot Hands. Smoke gives him cover to back away, but with the teleport here, the play is hard B. We got Zombs in the back here wreaking havoc. Sick cleans up Winsome from the pressure that Zombs exerts, and now we're going to be in a retake scenario, and you're down a player. Scratch that. Randy Savage with a pick on Sick here, but still down 4-3. Does look like they want this retake, though. They're being aggressive, and Shazam denies two of them. That leaves just Randy Savage, who I think is going to try to back out and save this op. Don't think he's going to get away with it. And he doesn't. He does take Shazam with him before Sinatra finishes him off.
And that's where map control and a little bit of a comfort pick here on Ascent starts to come into play. You see that while Sentinels only push B with 4 of their attackers, it means that Shazam is free to roam and move throughout mid, catching a fast flank, finding 2 of those crucial key kills, and that denies any opportunity of a retake for Renegades. I feel like Sentinels are playing chess while Renegades are playing checkers. Might have got that one backwards, but Sentinels certainly haven't. They find double digits first, and a nice assertive lead to get things started. Zombs with an unconventionally missed shot. He certainly wasn't ready for that one, with Winsome taking him apart. A little bit of aggression thrown through, and the recon bolt connects too. Shazam with a pair of kills. That's going to turn it right back in their favor. Sick finds that res. This is all falling apart for Renegades right here.
Yeah, Shazam with that double followed by the res is disastrous for the side of Renegades. They have a lot of work to do if they want to get back in this, because this is looking like it's going to go in favor. Well, Winsome does pick off Sinatra here. Make that 3 kills for Winsome, 4 before finally falling to Zombs, but CP2 does pick up 1 with the Hunter's Fury, so right when I'm about to badmouth Renegades, they make me a liar. They shut me up, and that's actually what I like to see. I would prefer close games. I like exciting games, so please, Renegades, if I am doubting you, shut me up.
And how the hell did they pull that one back there? You see the Hunter's Fury opening up so much space towards the A site, and just the kills found as response, forcing all of these Sentinels members out into the open. It feels like Renegades are feeling more comfortable on this defending side, and it seems to be a little more aggression thrown through for this 20th round. The flash lands perfectly, and there's the wall as a response. Straight on in, Winsome just wants to backtrack towards A. They don't need to give away any of these defending members early. Giving up any kill to the Sentinels is obviously disastrous and worth its weight in gold for an attacking side. As you find 4 versus 5 situations, it thins out the defense, makes it much easier to attack these bomb sites, especially A, where you're looking to stack 3 and possibly 4 players at times. I do like this defensive setup, I must say, from Renegades. You think that it's only Cypher towards B, but here comes the push. And with the ult to use, it's only the 1-to-1 trade to start. A perfect flash to finish. And with the combination of the run it back, it feels like Sentinel, can't get any closer. CP2, guns down 2. And it's 10-10.
I got to be honest. 10 to 10. 10 to 10 is just not where I expect this to be. There was a moment when I really thought Sentinels was going to run away with it. I'll just be upfront and honest. Renegades had that hot start. Sentinels really started to pile it on, but Renegades is showing me something here, and I really like specifically what I'm seeing out of Winsome playing aggressively. These last couple of rounds where they've been successful, specifically 2 rounds ago on the retake, it's been with Winsome playing as an entry fragger from the defensive side. The aggressive flashes, I don't think Sentinels has been expecting that, and it's been working in the favor of Renegades.
This is where things start to get exceptionally interesting. Maybe not in this 21st, just up against the Pistols, but Renegades are finding some real decent success on this defending side. They've managed to close up the scoreline. This should very likely be the 11th. Let's see if these Pistols can throw a spanner in the works, especially with this compromising angle. Sick with the first, and that's going to start to close a clamp over on B, with Phoenix and Sova holding as the sole defense. Winsome in the back lines, and Shazam, he finds another one. They might reverse this towards the A side once again. How are they finding so many kills right now? He's TP2, he pulls it back, but the long-range spray from the Vandal cannot connect. It's all 5 frags, and Shazam going absolutely wild with the Ghost there. Unbelievable. 11 to 10. And really at this point, if Renegades lose this map, that has to be a deciding momentum-changing factor. That 21st round, they should never be losing it.
So we're going to be seeing a full Phantom buy on the side of the attackers here. Just one operator on the side of Renegades, no Odins. CP2 here with the Vandal also has to take a light shield. But this is pretty close to full buy situation for both teams, and I have to think that because of the economic situation that Renegades is in, if they lose this, they're going to have a really hard time pulling this into overtime.
Cage triggered.
This is where Sentinels can start to close, but a key pair of frags. And are Renegades doing this once again? Yes, there is Sicker's response clamping in from mid, and with Shazam putting a pair of headshots of his own. This is so scrappy over by the B site. The spike is down all in the open, and that frag means absolutely everything. Zombs doubles up, and this B site, once again, it's up for grabs and nerfed. A key 1 versus 2. Shazam has a dynamite angle here in the afterplant, spots out the head and unable to connect. The paranoia's not going to connect, and Zombs triples things through to find a map point here on Ascent.
That was very scrappy, just like you said, and unfortunately on the side of Renegades, this means that they're going to be coming into this underpowered. It's a force buy. We see Sheriff, some SMGs, one player going to go with the Bulldog, but I liked what I saw at the start. Again, I think Renegades has been at their best when they've been aggressive, when they can let Winsome get out, get some frags. CP2's been great for them as well, but Shazam answered back, put things back in their favor. We're going to see the early ult coming out from Breach, as well as CP2 here with the Hunter's Fury. Stick with the boosted Sage to get some info on the B site here. Zom's teleporting in as well, so this is going to be a pretty hard push into B. Bergie with a pair of kills before Zoms takes out Randy Savage. So now this is a numbers advantage in favor of Renegades, but Sick gets Sinatra up and eliminates Winsome and Bergie. Sick is just turning this around. The numbers advantage in favor of Renegades means nothing. If Sick continues to do this, Zoms eliminates CP2, and we're back to nerfed trying to carry, but it's not going to be enough. This will be map 1 going in favor of the Sentinels.
I do think that's what we were expecting for quite some time. Obviously, Sentinels, they took the overwhelming majority of the gun rounds, of the rifle rounds right there. And I think that coming into this series is what we're expecting to see. The unfortunate factor for Renegades, to be perfectly honest, is they got off to a great start. Both halves, both pistol rounds, a couple of really nice scenarios to actually push the scoreline, even slightly back in their favor at one point. They were, they hit the double-digit marker first. And as of that point, that's when you're really looking to close. I think the main turning point in that series, though, or that opening map, I should say, was the pistols from Shazam. Scoreline 10-10. Around that, Sentinels should be losing any day of the week. And Shazam somehow finds 3 quick kills with the ghosts. He's able to pull it back in their favor. And realistically, they shouldn't be winning that whatsoever.
There were a number of rounds where I really felt like Renegades had the upper hand and then just kind of gave it away. And that's unfortunate for them, but that also means that there's room for improvement and they can clean that up. And this was a relatively close game, maybe closer than it should have been at 13-10. So if they can clean it up, I think they can actually give Sentinels a bit of a run for their money. But the number of times that Renegades had a numbers advantage and then gave it away was just far too high, in my opinion. So that's really what I'm looking for personally as we go into the next map. And the next map is going to be Bind, and it looks like it's going to be Renegades starting on defense there. Do you think that they'll be able to clean this up when they move to Bind?
Do you want my honest answer or the politically correct answer?
Yes, of course. I want your honest answer.
No, I think that Bind's going to be an even more one-sided map there. I feel like everything that went wrong for Sentinels at the start of this one absolutely did go wrong, and I feel like 13-10 was a little closer than it ordinarily should have been. I've said it so many times, I feel like a bit of a broken record at this point. It all came down to those rifle rounds, and as you said, those clutch scenarios and situations where I feel like the fragging power was all on Sentinels. You've got those key members. You've got Shazam, who absolutely went off, especially on that defending side to pull them back into this one. That operator controlling the middle of the map just gives Renegades so little space to maneuver. And I feel like that's going to be very similar on Bind coming up.
Yeah, Bind is certainly a map where there are a number of confined spaces, and I really think that Sentinels will use that to their advantage. It does look like they are trying to get the lobby all set, but we are, I believe, going to be taking a short break here. So when we come back, we're going to be jumping into Bind, and we're going to see if Renegades can tie this up and take us to a map 3, if they can clean up some of those, missteps that they had, or if Sentinels is just going to advance in the upper bracket. And welcome back to the Summer Cup put on by 30 Bomb. I am, unfortunately for Twitch chat, still Charmer, and I am once again joined by Squid. And we are going to be jumping into map number 2 here in just a moment. As we said before, this is going to be Bind. Renegades are going to be starting on defense. I am really excited to see if Renegades can pull this through. But before we actually jump into the action, I've got obligations, and we're going to talk about Juked.gg and runitback.gg because they are our sponsors. They are who are allowing us to make this tournament happen. So thank you to them. Juked.gg specifically is running a giveaway, $100 gift card for Riot points that you can use on Valorant. All you have to do is register on Juked.gg, set one of your favorite games to be Valorant, and you are entered to win. So now that that's out of the way, Squid, now that we've had a bit of a break, is there anything else you want to highlight before we move into Bind specifically?
Yeah, I think that this map's going to be messier than my haircut. Bind, I feel like Sentinels have it locked up already. As we are about to jump into the action, I feel like they're the big favorites in this one. 13-10, I think that they're going to be scratching their heads as to why it was even that close. I think that a map 3 is a very distinct possibility, but we've got to see the Valorant, right? The true test is actually to be seen in the server. So I don't really have much more to say about this one. I feel like it's Sentinels, Sentinels, Sentinels.
Well, I know that we're not supposed to play favorites, but as a caster here, I live in Michigan. Renegades is right up the road from me. Not only do I want to see them win because they're kind of like my hometown team, but also Split is our designated third map here after they had done selections. And it's so rare that you see Split played anymore. I feel like it's the favorite child to get banned all the time, and I kind of want to see a game played on Split. So if for no other reason, I'm kind of rooting for Renegades because I want to see a game played on Split. I am a bit of a masochist, and I would enjoy that.
Bias. Twitch, boo this guy. Boo this man. This is true bias. I'm not going to take it. I'm not going to handle it.
I mean, listen, I'm typical like North American caster scum, right? So like all I have is bias and bad jokes and you name it. But the good news is,
you are literally a dad, aren't you?
I am, yeah.
Dad jokes.
Yes, somebody decided to have children with me. I'm as shocked as you are, but we're jumping into Bind and literally jumping in. The agent selection was quick, so both teams seem to know exactly what they wanted to go with here. We're going to be starting things off again one final time as a reminder with Renegades on defense, and we're loading in now.
Yeah, let's watch some Valorant for the second time here. One of my favorite maps coming into action here. Of course, it all starts with this classic Valorant coin flip, the pistol, of which Renegades have been able to merit 2 for 2 right now. That's a massive advantage carried in. If they can't carry that through to this second map here, I think that this might be a bit of a runaway half. It might even be a runaway series. Already 1-0 up for the Sentinels. Let's see if they can hold this home advantage going on to Bind. I'm really excited.
Yeah, you mentioned the advantage. Both times, I believe, they propelled themselves to a 2-0 run. So they win the pistol round, and then because of the arms advantage, if you will, they also win the follow-up round. And that might actually be the reason for the kind of 13-10 finish before. So I really want to see if they can clean that up on the side of Sentinels. If they can deny the pistol rounds here, and right now we're kind of feeling each other out. I think, as you said, this might be a bit more of a runaway contest, and CP2 does find the first blood on Sinatra, so that's a great start for Renegades.
This is where you're really expecting a freebie bomb plant on the A site. I'm not sure if Renegades are going to be able to chip and chime back in for that secondary frag. But with the aft plant positions already posed and a couple of kills coming through, Dapper and Shazam getting things started here. And that aft plant scenario, Winston might be able to run through a bit of a distraction. And here can't connect with the headshot. The Sentinels are starting to lock things away. And there's Zoms just finishing things off with a ghost. 1-0, an early start. And Sentinels' first pistol victory of this series.
thing that I kind of want to highlight here is that we did have some agent changes, right? So Sinatra's now on Phoenix, and Winsome, who was on Phoenix on Ascent, is now playing Raze. Winsome was playing that Phoenix very aggressively. I felt like it was a lot of the success was between Winsome and CP2 playing at a pretty high level. I want to see how that changes with Winsome moving to Raze, because now this team essentially doesn't have flashes where the other side does. And right now we're going to be seeing some smokes come down from Nerfed. It looks like Sentinels are playing it slow, looking for picks. They're taking this kind of advance onto A with Cypher lurking, trying to catch a pick over on B. Dapper making his presence known by running now. A little bit of noise, but this is an easy take on A. Nobody's home. This is no deaths, no damage. It's just a plant, and now they sit and wait. It's a little bit peculiar.
Yeah, and realistically, you say that you're a masochist. I don't know why Renegades would do this to themselves, not just with the setup in general, but here in this round as well. They go for the gamble towards B. It doesn't pay off or pan out. Obviously, this is like a fairly full and wholesome investment for the defending side. So they want to keep hold of as much of this economy and much of this weaponry as possible. Finally, Renegades, they'll be hunting for a couple of these SMGs. And well, let's see what Sinatra can do. It's an instant frag coming in. The pistol closing out the second. And obviously the round's secure, but this is all about the damage. And that 2-for-2 trade is massively going to favor the Sentinels.
So now as we're going into the all-important round 3, where if you have saved your money, you should be going with full buys. It actually looks like on the side of Renegades, it's pistols and SMGs. So this is likely going to be Sentinels extending their lead pretty significantly. And again, I just don't know what the mindset was on the previous round where you let them waltz onto site A completely untouched.
Yeah, it's really this gamble setup, right? Where if the Sentinels do decide to go for some form of B rush, they've got all of the SMGs there just to chomp and peel them away, where they do realistically have an advantage. If it is A, which did seem to be the case, obviously a very easy round in effect. It seems just all too easy at that point. The SMG is able to chip in for the first, but with the spike going down once more, Sentinels should have an ironclad lock on this A site. And Nerfed is stuck between a rock and a hard place right now. He has the flank fully in place. And even with a pistol, again, trying to do some damage. A 3 versus 5 scenario. Maybe an opportunity for Renegades here as the tertiary frag comes through. Nerfed holds the angle, and it's all down to Sova here. There's nothing that he can do about this one. He gets completely ripped out of the server. 1-2 on the board. What the hell was that, Charmer?
I have no idea, but I can't wait to watch VODs on it later and really examine it, because that is... Wow. That's a clinic of a thrifty round. You went into that down, and you not only took the round, you took it clean. You got a bunch of extra weapons that you get to carry with you off the corpses of your enemies. And so as we're going into round 4 here, you can kind of see the momentum is going to be shifting now in favor of Renegades. They've got the full arsenal. It's going to be the eco round on the side of the attackers, Sentinels. And there's a lot of credits banked up on the side of Renegades because they took those ARs from the bodies of their opponents. And we see Sentinels like taking this kind of spread out approach to start. They want information first before they make any sort of pushes. They drop the spike in the middle. Kind of getting forced out of this hookah area as Sick tries to peek over and over to get a little bit of intel, but nobody home quite yet. Is this actually going to be the first time that they move in to hookah? Because so far, every time they have advanced forward, checked it, and decided to back away and go A, but they are amassing. This appears to be the first real hookah push that we're going to see. Dapper takes down CP2.
Wow. There are the kills to follow, and well, with the barrier orb thrown into place, I don't think the Bulldogs should be able to do all too much here, even against the pistols. They backtrack, taking Raze and Sova as their prize. And Nerfed Over by Bathrooms has actually been a fairly influential member here. He's been finding a lot of those opening frags, and well, there's another one, a secondary headshot onto Sick, trying to flashbang him away. And while Sinatra does find the flank, and that's the third frag found. Now a tough, tricky retake for the final two. As they try to chip through, they do have a weaponry advantage here, but the time is not on their side. Sinatra, right around this corner, can go for second helpings right now, and these kills aren't coming through nearly fast enough. There's the recon just to find that penultimate frag, and Bergie should fall the same fate as well.
Can't help but feel for Randy Savage there. There was a bit of a misstep. He threw the cage down. He thought he'd activated it so that he could go in to try to get the defuse, and then you saw him kind of dance back because he had missed the activation, and ultimately that sliver of time might have cost him. But this is, you know, a great answer back from Sentinels. Right when you think that one of these teams has an advantage, the other one comes back hard swinging. It feels like the underpowered squads are the ones that are overperforming thus far, but now we're going to get our first full buy versus full buy round here on Bind from both teams, and we'll see whether or not one of them can jump out in front of the other. Bergie does take out the drone, repositions, almost gets the flick with the operator.
That's such a ballsy pick to go for as well. If he loses that engagement, that gives away almost the entirety of the B site with only Randy Savage here. CP2, yes, he's rotated in and through. And really just a slow start for the Sentinels, trying to pry for a little bit of this early intel. And with a minute left, they've got a lot of this clock to whittle down as well. The longer they chip away off this time bank, of course, it's going to whittle that defensive utility away, and maybe just one less smoke here and another flash gone there. That could be all she wrote for a defense a lot of the time. This time, it's Winsome to try and hold up the sole defense here, and in the back lines, he's going to get swiftly taken out.
CP2 popping off with a double there exactly to give Renegades a numbers advantage, but they've got to push in and get this spike diffused. Randy Savage taking down Dapper, but Sick does get Zombs back up. Hunter's Fury's coming up to stop the defuse. And now we also see the orbital strike come down, and despite the numbers, I'm not sure they're going to have enough time. We see the defuse attempted, but Zombs denies it. Randy Savage gets the 3K and will get the defuse. Good positioning there from Randy to clean that up, but that was very hectic there at the end. A lot of ults thrown out, a lot of trades. Renegades getting closer to evening things up. It's now 2-3.
That's exactly why these ultimates are so powerful, right? You've got that incendiary combined with the orbital strike to delay that defuse for as long as possible. And a lot of the time, if Renegades actually have just one extra defender in that scenario, maybe they win the round, but losing a couple of those early engagements, and they do get bitten for it. No operators on the attacking setup. This is what I love to see. Relying on these rifles, taking a faster running gun approach. You can even just fall away and try and play a passive setup to try and steal away this first kill.
What's interesting to me is that despite the push after push after push onto A, they continue to 3-stack B here on the side of Renegades. Now this time it does actually look like Sentinels is going to push into Hookah. The Raise Grenade pushes them out a bit, but they're going to come right back. They are still looking for picks though. The spike was dropped outside. We do see Brimstone circling around, may be able to pick it up. Cypher backtracking, but Winsome here denying it. And we also have the information because of the Roomba finding somebody around the corner. Shazam with a shock dart of his own.
This is where things start to get a little bit of touch and go. The spy cam at least merits a little bit of that elbow information. And with Winsome nailing another headshot, This defensive side is starting to clamp down on B. A third frag found in CP2 chipping through. It's a flawless round for the defensive half. 3-3 and closing it up once again. Renegades, I feel like they do rely on this defensive half, like most teams do, albeit on bind. I think that does start to bite you at some point, where if you don't take 8-9 defensive rounds, perhaps Sentinels have a big advantage coming into this second half, especially combined with the pistol. I think that Sentinels here, their goal is maybe 2 more. If they can take 3 more, they're going to be feeling just absolutely great about this.
I'm actually very excited to see what Renegades can do on attack, because I've really liked their aggressive style of play. As I said before, Winsome and CP2 have shown me a lot, and Bergie here with an early pick on Sinatra puts the numbers advantage in their favor again. I'd like to see them turn this into a round win. Bergie now picks up Zombs and Sick. Bergie is absolutely popping off here. Almost finds Dapper before getting punished. Randy Savage takes down Shazam. Dapper then gets that kill as well. So Dapper with the spike, going to be going to Site B. There is Sova waiting in the wings to get him. I think he's trying to get this plant money, but it will be denied by CP2. That's what I want to see out of Renegades. In the first map, we saw them time and time again with the numbers advantage. They get the first blood, and then they couldn't capitalize. This time around, executed very well. If they can do that, I really think they can push Sentinels and try to take this map and maybe push them to a game 3.
Yeah, it certainly does seem that way right now. We're seeing a tremendous amount of control from this defending side, continuously picking up that first and opening frag. That gives them such a massive advantage when that push inevitably does come through. 5 versus 4 is exactly where you want to be. And yeah, prying for that information, it's what you need to be doing in a Sageless setup. But even when you've got that Sage, that res as a response, you have to be finding those opening engagements. And well, here taking Bathroom's control and really good map control in general is absolutely what you want to be doing. And Winsome's doing a grand job every single time at finding this opening pick and just nailing the advantage. Great bit of map control here, right inside of lamps and prying in. Sage has complete control of this A site right here. And what is she going to do with it? Phantom in the hands of Sick. And the defense has no idea that he's lurking towards this side of the map right now. As Dapper pries in, I want to see Sage even overextend a little bit and nail that first frag. You see Bergie's all out in the open, and without the smokes, should have been able to connect that first shot. Clock down to just 40 seconds now, and it does feel like Renegades have control of A once again. Good Bathroom's control. This is a good anchor for the retake, but a great headshot from Sinatra evens things up.
That pick from Sinatra was massive because it stopped the showstopper. Sinatra also picks off Nerfed there as well, and we've got Bergie up in heaven, raining down those op shots. So far, the spike has not been planted, so they're going to take the teleporter over to B. Time's running out, so they have to get this down. We can see the incendiary on the ground here. The plant's going down, but Randy Savage takes down Sick, and that's also going to be Sinatra falling, so this will be a defuse and then another round win for the Renegades.
As I said before, immense control on this defending side. That Bathroom position seems incredibly powerful, especially for Raze, where that showstopper can then pry into the A site. It doesn't get the job done in that scenario, but just causing confusion within the ranks. And really, Sentinels don't seem ready for this attacking side. They actually seem a little bit out of their depths thus far on bind, considering they were able to take 3 of the first 4. They've had relatively little success in the last few rounds, in the last several minutes. Back into the action, round number 9 here. And they need to start picking up these opening frags. More aggression from the Renegades. And the run it back gets information, but nothing else. 0 headshots merited, and it's still control for Renegades.
And Randy Savage denies Dapper trying to enter in as they're piling into Site A here, but the spike is down, so at this point they are just kind of playing for picks, trying to push people out. We've got the orbital strike there on U-Haul, and then Nerf picks up Shazam coming around the corner, but Sinatra gets the trade frag, evens it up there. A lot of smoke down. Folks firing, trying to connect, but again, this is Renegades with a numbers advantage. This is where they had been struggling on the previous map. So far on Bind, they've transferred these into round wins. Let's see if they can keep that up here.
Slowing things down at the 40-second mark. And of course, with a one-man deficit, this is where the Sentinels need to even up the frags. The rotate already coming through. A 3 versus 3 situation on this A site before the rotate comes in from the final man. And with the spike down, that's a time pressure applied. 5 versus 3, such an important round to win. That recon bolts are going to get the job done on the burst. A great blast pack in, does tremendous amounts of damage. And once again, the retake scenario seems primed and ready. And Bergie misses the first, but certainly not the second. That secures the 6th. And a great hold once again from the Renegades.
That's a beautiful hold from Renegades, because that guarantees that even if everything falls apart here, they can at a minimum go even at the half. But there's still 3 rounds left. If they can extend this, if they continue this streak, even if they take 2 of the next 3 and maybe go 8-4, I really like their chances, because they've been playing well when they're aggressive, and having an established round lead going into when they're going to be on attack might benefit them. But right now, what I'm most impressed about, what I'm most happy about, is the fact that, again, they're turning these first bloods into round wins. They're taking advantage of their numbers advantage. That was something they struggled with before. And Sentinels, normally they're a team that is known for their adaptability, and they have not been able to adapt to this defensive strategy from Renegades thus far.
That's a really important point to make right there, is converting these opening frags into rounds. It's cause and effect. Finding these 5 versus 4 and favorable engagements is the catalyst to taking these scenarios. And as I said earlier, after losing the pistol, you need to win the lion's share of your rifle rounds. And well, this time it's towards the B site. Still a minute left on the board. The Owl drone at least finds the tag, but there's nobody to punish there for the Sentinels. They feel a little bit caught off balance right here. I don't think they were expecting, much like me, for this map to be as one-sided. A great opening pick for the first time we see Winsome drop, and a horrible wall coming through. I think that they can actually pick and pry around this one. At least the incendiary is going to hold them out momentarily. But with the kills coming in one more time, Dapper can't get the damage done. There's the res right on cue, and an even scenario here. 3 versus 2, and it gets shut down just like that. Once again, the Renegades applying the pressure in all the right places.
I had a moment there where I legitimately thought Sick might pull it off. There's been a number of times so far in today's broadcast where Sick has completely turned the tide of a battle by getting a pick and then getting a res at a key moment, and they were at a big disadvantage there. But something just told me, hey, Sick might do this yet again. That was a great stop again by Renegades to prevent that. Up now 7-3, and looking to extend it even further. And it looks like Sentinels are going to be pushing this B route again now, exploring hookah and long, but they're going to do it quicker than normal. So this is them actually adapting their strategy a bit. Sinatra gets another entry frag before traded out with CP2, but Dapper gets Randy Savage. Zombs finds one. This is what I wanted to see before. With Sentinels, they are great at adapting. I think that this has caught Renegades a bit off guard, because they haven't seen this kind of fast push aggression out of Sentinels yet on this map. And now they're in a 4v2 post-plant scenario, and they should be able to take this round.
This should certainly be an easy one to close out. You see that the Renegades, obviously this being the penultimate round with a buy coming up next, they're going to go for it. But with Sick finding that penultimate frag, Winsome gone, Nerf really has no chance any longer. He's going to try and cling onto this Phantom for the final time, and he's going to get recon bolted right away from this B site. I love the change of pace there from the Sentinels, just diving and darting into B. And 4 rounds on this attacking side, that's actually pretty decent here on a map like Bind. I think with the combination of the pistol in the second half, and you'll see Sentinels creep ahead once again, this massive defender-sidedness certainly is going to favor Sentinels if they can get that economy off to a good foot, if they can just get off to a good start. I think that they've certainly got great chances in this map, and this 3 to 4 round marker is where it becomes acceptable to a good half.
Yeah, this is actually a really important final round for this half because both teams want to set themselves up for the second half in a great way. And again, more aggression out of the side of Sentinels. Sinatra coming in with the run it back here. Sick gets a pick, Sinatra gets a pick, and I like the change. CP2 answers back, but Shazam gets that trade frag, and right when I mentioned that Sentinels has been great at adapting and I was waiting for them to do just that, they answer.
Yeah, it's a repeat
Sick
performance
catches
once
Winsome.
again. A guaranteed 5th round, and this right here is a great half for Sentinel. Looked a little bit rocky as we were getting into things. 7-3 looked like it could have certainly been a 9-3 performance. Obviously for Renegades, 7-5 on your defender side is actually not really good enough here on Bind. This is a much needed pistol round for the Renegades. If not, we could see this sweep over still.
So if you're on the side of Sentinels, if you can take this pistol round and then propel that advantage to a 7-7 even start, I really think that that might swing things enough in your favor. On the side of Renegades, as I said before, I'm excited to see what they can do on offense, specifically Winsome. He was great when playing aggressive on Phoenix on Ascent previously. Here on Raze on Bind, I want to see what he can do with the grenades in confined spaces. It looks like this is going to be a push into A, potentially through the short area, though with the utility. Things are going to slow down. They're going to, I think, change this pace a little bit. Now the push comes out. A lot of firing through smoke and catches a headshot, but because it's the classic, wasn't enough to finish it. Sinatra draws first blood on Nerfed, though.
Fairly even engagement to start things off. Sick and Randy once again trade frags, and these ghosts need to pry through before the spike goes down and away. Winsome, another 1-to-1 trade, and we'll see the 2 versus 2 scenario. They're so the tellies to be, and finally does plant this spike down and away. It'll all come down to their headshots here in the retake. Shazam's going to try and start things off. CP2 nicely gets around the corner in elbow, tries to take an aggressive secondary swing, and they seem to have this one all wrapped up here inside the hookah. Shazam's going to find that final frag, tripling things up, and that's a much-needed pistol round. 7-6. I feel like Sentinels have this one pretty much almost wrapped up here.
Well, we are going to see the up buy here. We see SMGs and a Bulldog on the side of Sentinels. We have, however, a couple of times here seen the underbought squad turn things around. I wouldn't count Renegades out just yet. Specifically, we've seen CP2 in the past pop off with the Sheriff. If he can land a headshot or 2, allow his teammates to pick up one of these SMGs, they might be able to propel this into a win. It's a great flash open from Sinatra. Uses the incendiary there to give himself some distance and back out safely, but got some opening chip damage on CP2.
This is where this defensive side needs to hold serve, especially with the SMG up close. Still a single curveball in hand. But you see, Renegades, they've really just been spanked away from B. They were unable to get anything done there. 0 headshots found. Realistically, you want to nail that first kill quite quickly and snowball the attack off the back of it. And with Sentinels just not giving anything up towards that side of the map, they have to backtrack, rotate, and scamper towards this A site once again.
So this is now the hard push on to A. We saw the Molly go out, obviously a lot of utility. The Roomba goes down, but doesn't find anything in the smoke, but Winsome does get that kill on Zombs. And this is potentially that early kill they needed. Through the teleporter they go as they try to get in here to plant. Good flash, but with the slow, Randy Savage answers back, takes out Sinatra. Shazam picks off Nerfed here as well, but this is still a 4v3 in a post-plant scenario. Sick trying to find somebody. CP2 also takes down Dapper. And Renegades actually might pull this off. Again, for whatever reason here on Bind, the teams that are underbought have been overperforming. But Shazam ends Randy Savage's peak and now finds Bergie.
Still an opportunity in this one. Finally closed down by the pincer between Sova and Raze to finish things off. That bomb was fairly far ticked, to say the least. And that is such a great swing round for Renegades. They take all of the rifles and all of that investment out of the hands of Sentinels. That's when, obviously, that defensive side needs to bolster up their economy, build that bank, keep things rolling for a fairly clean, if not flawless, second round there to put them in great stead for the rest of the half. But we do see that return to form round. Renegades, that might have been one of their only chances to get back into this one. I feel like if you allow the Sentinels economy to build up, you allow them back-to-back rifle rounds, that's when they start to get massively dangerous here, especially on a really favored defensive half.
We saw Grenade and Satchels trying to force the Sentinels out of position there. We saw no real damage as a result, though, and Winsome here still peeking, trying to find somebody, and they're just kind of dancing around each other. Finally, some damage goes out, and it's Sick who wins the gunfight. That's also going to give Sick an upgrade of a weapon, and that's huge on the side of Sentinels.
Obviously, exactly what they want at this point. A one-man deficit for this defense. Finally, well, pulled back again by Zombs. A 3 versus 5 before he finally falls and falters. Bergie with another. It's all fairly even right now. Renegades seem to love this. One kill towards A and TP straight into B. I feel like that the adjustment needs to come through at some point from the Sentinels, where they actually just keep one member of the defense over towards this side of the map. But here comes the retake once again.
We hear somebody on the spike, but Sick eliminates CP2. Bergie and Nerfed also finding kills as well. That's going to even things up in a 2v2 here. Dapper eliminates Bergie. Now we're down to the 1v1 after Nerfed. And the fake from Shazam baits it out, and now that will be a defuse. So Sentinels with a thrifty of their own. And again, for whatever reason, here on Bind, feels like the underbought teams are overperforming.
And Shazam with that big brain play, I've been seeing him do this for years in Counter-Strike as well. And again, flexing those muscles here on that defensive side. A great, much needed 1v1 scenario. Pulls the scoreline back again, and we're destined for a close quarters scoreline in this second map. The Phantoms obviously come through for the defenders this time. Not a single operator, and the Force Spy is a response for the Renegades. They're going to once more try and pry into A. That operator is going to look to open things up and through. But as soon as they give away any information here, expect the Sky Smokes to go down and probably an Incendiary as well from Zombs to just slow and, well, split up this approach. I love this combination. The Recon Bolt connects and heavy damage done with Hunter's Fury opens things through, and the attackers once more finding all of the advantages on A.
Yeah, Winsome with a pair there. Bergie also found the kill, all because of the Hunter's Fury chasing folks out. It was a beautiful arrow, giving them even just the one ping was enough to kind of propel them onto this site. And so now it's a 5v2 in a post plant. You have to assume, I think, that Sentinels are going to take a save here, maybe try to get some exit frags, but this should be a round win in favor of Renegades. And so far, since they have swapped at the half, it's been a very back and forth affair as both teams look to close this out. It's much closer than I thought it was going to be. I'll be entirely honest. I expected after the pistol round Sentinels to kind of close the gap and then use that economic advantage. Renegades has shown me something. they continue over and over and over again to put the pressure back on Sentinels right after Sentinels answer. It's a close matchup.
And that's what we've seen since the very start of Ascent. It doesn't feel that long ago now. But 9-7, a fairly even scoreline. And it doesn't feel like Sentinels are successfully holding serve on the defensive side of Bind. They'll get another opportunity here with a pair of rifles to get a little bit of damage done. But along with a triple pistol setup, how can they really hold serve here on the defense with such an unfavorable buy? We've seen it come through a couple of times, but 9-7, Renegades applying all of the pressure right here, and well, oh, a great bit of over-aggression pays off and pans out. The recon bolt does even further damage. And this is a head-scratcher for Renegades. How do they respond?
Yeah, this is, again, I don't know what it is about this particular map. It's defying all traditional conventions where the team that's at a pretty big disadvantage is coming out huge. They're playing aggressive. They're getting these picks. They're doing it with pistols. They're doing it with SMGs. Dapper there getting another kill as well. That's with an AR he took off of somebody's corpse. And now we see Nerf trying to get that economic damage back. He's solo, not likely that he's going to be able to pull this off, but he's got 76 health, 1 armor, and a bit of a dream. He's going to smoke this so he can push in. Don't think he's going to go for the plant here, though, knowing that it's 1v3. Shazam does end his hopes. But again, even a pair of kills there, the economic damage that does is pretty relevant because this is a very close game on both sides. We're going to see full buys come out on the side of Sentinels, but when you look at somebody like Sick, for example, not a lot of money left, though his teammates have enough to buy them in future rounds. On the side of Renegades, also a bit low on credits for a couple of members.
Yeah, and the real reason behind this is they're failing to chain together rounds on this attacking side. If you fail to win consecutive rounds on either side of this map, you're obviously going to be stuck with very little economy, just no real money to work with. And right now, it's down to the Renegades to see if they can close up this scoreline and, well, maybe even take a narrow lead here on the defending half. Opportunities for both teams here, and this is a swing situation where whoever wins this, they're going to be in control of the economy. They'll completely manhandle the bank of their opponents. And well, with a minute left, I feel like both teams are going to start to feel the heat. And who does that favor? I feel like Sentinels have the more experienced roster. They've got a depth of talent who have played on LAN, a lot of these high money, high pressure scenarios. So I feel like they have the experience to carry this one through. That's what we saw on Ascent, and it's coming in once again here on our second map of the day.
So that's a very interesting tell of information there. Winsome taking some shots over there on the B site and has now pushed forward here in Hookah. A bit of a standoff Winsome is having, and that's making some noise. I thought that meant his teammates might try to pressure over on A, but instead they rotated over. Winsome does get a kill with the rocket before falling to Sinatra, so it's an even trade, but everybody's filing into B here as they try to get this plant down. Beautiful flash from Sinatra. However, CP2 and Nerfed find headshots. And the spike is planted in time. And now it's up to Zoms to either try to defend this or back out. It does look like he wants to go for it. Bergie gonna res. And I like this res from Bergie, not only because you want to make sure you get this round win, but for economic reasons as well. Renegades was short on credits, and that will help them save yet another weapon.
Yeah, that is such an unenviable situation for Zoms. To add insult to injury, as you said, the res comes in, it turns it from a 1v3 to a 1 versus 4, almost unwinnable at that point. And inevitably, you don't want to give away that ult. You want to carry it through to this very key round coming up where both teams are going to have rifles in hand. Of course, that money is starting to build up now, but you see the scoreboard. Neither of these teams able to chain together back-to-back rounds. And this is amounting up to maybe the most exciting Valorant I've seen thus far. A great quarterfinal, and only one of these teams can take the cheese and make it to the semis. Both of these obviously want to take a lion's share of that $5,000 prize pool. A great aggressive Hunter's Fury to get things started. That's a nice chunk of damage dealt. The aforementioned Orbital Strike isn't going to come through as of yet, wanting to keep that in hand just one more time. And well, a fairly even engagement, and finally, Spike planted, Orbital Strike through. It's not going to capture anybody. It's ever so slightly late, and allows Sick to negotiate himself into a position further onto this site. A couple of kills from the rear from Dapper, and Sova has it all to do right now. He's unable to transfer the spray. And well, that's going to be another reverse round. This time, Sentinels bringing it back.
The first team to win 2 in a row here in this half is probably going to take this. Just from sheer momentum and swinging things. This back and forth is the sort of thing that just makes me wait with bated breath for one of these teams to break the trend, start developing some momentum. And interesting here because it looks like we're only going to get either half buys or a bit of an eco round now out of the side of Renegades. That money has, I think, finally dwindled enough to the point where they have to consider if they want to do a full buy as a team. And it does look like that's the case as we see some things being swapped around. CP2 does have enough to bring an AR to this fight, but everybody else is going to be taking pistols, and this is huge.
It goes here.
Yeah, this looks like a tactical pause right now. We were warned about this before. Both teams get a couple of, well, moments just to really just have a discussion, chill things out. This is, of course, a high-pressure scenario as well. So talking about the tactics, especially on this attacking side, that they want to know how they're going to pull this one back at this point. I feel like the defender side always holds a slight advantage here on Bind, and sooner or later, they should be able to chomp down on that ever so slight advantage. But at 10-9, this is really riding on a knife's edge. I think that absolutely anything can happen at this point. But getting back into this one, I think that B take has certainly been working out. It seems to be catching Sentinels by surprise ever so slightly. The rotates have been ever so slightly late. The other side tactic that Renegades have been relying on is just finding that one pick on A, teleporting straight back to B and getting a quick spike plant. That applies the pressure of this spike, that time, and forces Sentinels into a really kind of awkward retake scenario where if they don't find those opening picks, it's game over.
Yeah, the very interesting thing about specifically planting on B after you teleport is that there aren't many places for them to retake from. The CT is just that tight corridor, and then it's hookah or long, and if you're going long, it's going to be quite the trek, so you're sacrificing time for maybe an element of surprise. And with that in mind, I think that Renegades is really trying to abuse that. They want to get that pick on A, teleport through B, plant, and then the number of angles they have to watch is very minimal. So even if it's an even scenario, if they trade frag even on A, but they pull folks over there, I wouldn't be shocked to see them teleport over to B, try to make that magic happen again. And pause is over, the round is starting, and does look like they're going to start on A for now as they push through showers and the short.
And again, a slow stance. No run and gun tactics here for round number 20. The barrier orb is going to slow things down momentarily. But you see with this, the knife out, Cypher's surely going to just burst through at some point. Only with pistols in hand for the majority of these members. I don't know if exactly Renegades are expecting to take this 20th. They'll have the rifles to fall back on in their next engagement. Only a couple of seconds now before they inevitably go for this burst. And it all comes down to how many kills Dapper's able to find initially. The Cyber Cage goes through. It's that slight barrier of entry and an even trade. And kind of forced back before this spike can go down and through. I don't think that the defensive side want to get all too aggressive here and just play safety in numbers in the 4 versus 4 scenario. And without the spike down and Dapper connecting with another shot, the rotating flank is already here. And I don't think the Renegades are going to be more than ready for this one. Shazam and Dapper finish things off. And that's the scoreline closed up once again. Finally picking apart, I think, 2 rounds in a row now. And well, this is going to be the must-win round for Renegades.
Yeah, backing out there really slowed things down enough for Sentinels to capitalize. The flank rotate really helped catch them from the back. And then the other thing that really stands out to me is, with the exception of Brimstone, they don't have many ways to force Dapper out of that kind of sniper's nest on A. So he was able to pick up a triple kill with the operator very easily. I'm not sure that they can continue to take that route, and I think they agree, and that's why they are posturing now over towards B. That's a great flash to start things from Sinatra. Just to get himself back. We see the shock dart go out as well, and all of the advancing they were doing on B is halted, at least temporarily. Sinatra practicing his knife skills, wants to swing a bit, dance around. Winsome doing the same thing. Great minds think alike. And they're just looking for information, and now we see the wall bangs go out because of the anticipation. Sinatra says, all right, at this point, somebody's got to have pushed up, right? The hot hands goes out as well. He's wall banging. Does actually catch Winsome there with the hot hands, but Nerfed does get the trade frag, so now it's going to be a 4v4, and they're still over there on B, but now the rotation is coming.
The rotate is firmly in place, and without Cypher and Sober any advantage to go over towards A, this is going to be a long-haul rotate if needed. They finally throw it back through, and they've only got Cypher to deal with over by the pointy letter. The rotation here is going to be delayed, and Cypher, it's Dapper with the operator in hand. He's got a lot of work to do here. They're going to cling on to this one. Spike finally down. He drops as well. That evens things up once more. Able to trade it back and through. And here's the flank once more. Operator nailing yet another. And this again was on a knife's edge, but only with Sage remaining. I don't think that this is going to be entirely possible on the retake, though. We know that Six good, but he needs to nail some lightning fast headshots if he's going to finish this one off. And I'm actually unsure if he's even going to try and go for this one. He should probably just try and back off, cling on to that Phantom. It's worthwhile weaponry to carry through to round number 22 here.
This is a really big win for Renegades, because if Sentinels had got another win, I think they would have just propelled themselves all the way to victory. I really want to call out Nerfed. Answering the res that Bergie tried to get on, that Sick tried to get on Sinatra. I confused my sages there for a moment. Sick had a beautiful res on Sinatra that was going to give them a numbers advantage. He answered right back with the orbital strike, denied that kept things in their favor. That, in my opinion, was a clutch enough moment to allow them to get over to A, get that plant, but again, as you said, this game is really on a knife's edge.
Okay.
I think Renegades would love to get a win here to take it to match point, and honestly just get the monkey off their own back, because they still have not won back-to-back rounds since swapping sides. So we're going to see Shazam here drone out long. Not going to find any. Well, he will actually see CP2, who peeks out and takes out the drone. And so now they're having a bit of a standoff.
This is a really weak defensive side, all things considered, and with Shazam dropping as well, a third map is certainly on the cards. Sinatra also falls, and again an even Stevens scenario on the B site this time. Dapper and Zom's going to be a little late to the party, but without the spike planted as of yet, it all comes down to these follow-up frags. Spike finally down through, and Sick only finds that one-to-one trade. It's not good enough in this scenario. Puts all the pressure on Zom's shoulders, and they want to find this frag before even going for this plant right here. The heal from Sage.
You will not
And
kill
while
my
Zombs
ally.
again has A world of work to be done. The res as well in hand. This is, again, an unenviable situation as he needs to nail all of the headshots right now, and I just don't think it's possible to see defenders stacked all upon each other. 12 to 10.
Well, we find ourselves at match point, and Renegades finally wins their back-to-back round. So after trading round for round, we get a 2 and then a 2. So if this trend continues, I assume that Sentinels is just going to take this, defy all odds. We've also seen these low buys really play up. So with the SMGs, you'd think they're heavily unfavored, but I'm throwing all expectations out the window here. On this map in particular, it's been a lot of surprising outcomes.
Yeah, if this trend continues, we could be going absolutely all night here on Bind. If not, we're going over to Split, which would be our third and final map here today in this series. I really didn't think that we were going there at this point, but a great performance to carry this one into a favorable lead. And now 2 opportunities to close. A great Hunter's Fury does tons of damage. Shazam starts things off incredibly strong, and once again, you see Sentinels exerting this pressure on the attacking side. A tertiary headshot found. That's beautifully crisp by Sick. And right now, I don't think that Renegades are going to be able to get onto this A site whatsoever. It's completely shut away.
Wow.
A flawless round.
Flawless. As I said, I'm just assuming that the traditional outcome is not what's going to happen. That was very well executed on the side of Sentinels. Everything went the way that you want it to. They got the early sonar arrow, turned that into a Hunter's Fury kill. They got some picks, snowballed that, and now they've got full Phantoms. The other side looks like they are going to be stuck rocking a couple of Sheriffs, though Winsome could buy for somebody if they really wanted to try to pressure this, because it is a match point scenario. It's win by 2, so right now we've got Sentinels trying to take this to overtime, and Shazam peeking long there, not going to find anybody this time. Bergie does get a pick on Sinatra with that Sheriff. Again, for whatever reason, pistols and SMGs getting it done. Winsome now with the showstopper on Dapper. And now they're going to now rotate to A. They get the picks there on B, and we'll move to A where Zoms is waiting in wait.
You will not kill my
It
allies.
certainly is. There's the res to pull it back into a 5 versus 4 retake scenario. But the spike should go down any second here. Winsome, he's controlling all of the flanks. It's key information to have at this point. They know exactly where Sentinels are coming from, and they're going to walk right into this wraparound. Sick has to be the initial entry man. With the wall broken and nerfed in Bergie, applying the pressure. The Sentinels are getting crushed on every single approach. A 1 versus 5, and no chance for Zoms to finish. 13 to 11 there, and we will see a third and final map.
I'm excited. I know that I said
Wow.
before that I was going to be excited just because I wanted to see Split, but I'm excited because Renegades did answer back. I questioned you before the start. I said, can they clean it up? Can they convert these first bloods into round wins? And, we had some questions about that, but they did it. They snowballed that advantage. I want to give a special highlight here to Sinatra, who, despite unfavorable KDA, did end up with 7 first bloods and still wasn't enough to help the team out in the end. So Sentinels, Renegades, both 1-1, and we're going to be deciding on Split. I don't know how I feel about that.
I feel great about it. A third and final map. I certainly didn't believe that we were getting there by any point. I feel like Sentinels almost had just a massive advantage going into this one, and it all came down to that defending half where they were unable to get the job done. They were, more importantly, unable to chain together back-to-back rounds. And we end up 13 to 11 without overtime, literally as close as it gets. And we're going to Split to finish things off.
Yeah, it sounds like they might be ready early, so we could be allowed to nix the break, if you will, and jump right into a game 3, which would make me very, very happy. I want to see how this plays out. So this is going to be Split, and it will be Sentinels on defense. I like what I've seen from Renegades when they're playing aggressive, but Split is a different animal. This is a map that is very maligned in the Valorant community. It's usually banned out or folks' least favorite map. I'm very excited to see what these teams bring to the table in terms of attacking Split. Now, one of the reasons that Split is considered maligned is because it feels like the map traditionally just comes down to mid control. Trying to attack from the sides is very defender sided, if you will. And I want to see what kind of agents they pick and strategies they employ for trying to establish mid control as we move on to Split.
I think that this is going to be a really interesting third and final map. I'm going to do a shameless plug of our Twitters before we get into this one. I've forgotten what your Twitter is. You should say it right now.
I'm that Charmer.
That's
because somebody's
Charmer.
camping just Charmer. I'm Charmer
And
everywhere but
someone's
Twitter
taken
because Twitter won't give it to me.
Yeah, and someone's taken Squid, and I can't get it back. It's been inactive for 5 years. So if you work for Twitter,
I'm in the same
please give me
boat.
the Squid handle, please, please, please. I really, really want that handle. Mine is Squid CS, so maybe not going to be the most popular handle on this broadcast, but I think I'll get it changed sometime soon. My DMs are open, so tell me what you think. But we are getting into this map in the next couple of moments. Nevertheless, this series has really been so cut close. I think we really just needed a third map here to decide who the best of these two teams are. And I think that's what's so exciting about this sort of level of play. As I said earlier, at the very offset of the broadcast, the hierarchy has not been established just yet. What we're going to do, I'm hearing from production, we're going to go to a very quick break. It's going to be a quick one, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back with map number 3 after this.
Well, when we said it was a short break, we meant it. We are coming back immediately to the game, and this is going to be map 3, Renegades 1, Sentinels 1. We're on split, and as I said before, it's going to be Sentinels starting on the defensive side. But it looks like we might have a pause. So right when I say we're going to come back right into the game, I think we might have had a bit of a disconnect. And it also does look like the information I was given was incorrect. It does actually appear that it might be Renegades starting on defense. So just excuse me. Renegades starting on defense. We have a disconnect, so it's paused. And Squid is, I think, also coming back now. We're just juggling balls over here. I see Squid potentially trying to join me, but nonetheless, there we go.
I'm here. I'm happy.
So
we're happy with this.
So Squid, teams started, but then we had a DC, so now we're paused, and it's going to be Renegades on defense. And so now you and I are caught up, and we're just awaiting the disconnect to get sorted out so that folks can start again. But we had a bit of a Charlie Foxtrot, no big deal. This is esports.
And that's absolutely fine, isn't it? It's online, we're here, we're having fun. It's 2:30 in the morning here in the UK, and I'm awake and ready, as per usual, to cast some Valorant. You know, I'm really excited about this one, Charmer. We've got the reconnection in. I'm sure that we'll get into this one in the next couple of seconds as well with the initial pistol round. And really, for me, this is all to play for. We're in the quarterfinals here. I'm pretty sure that this is just single elimination, so the losers just get straight eliminated from this tournament. It's all about getting to that final day, right? It's all about getting to that top 3, securing a lion's share of that $5,000 prize pool. And it's all about securing those wins, especially if you're Sentinels. You've come off the back of a really grand performance in the last couple of weeks, an Ignition Series title under their belt, under their wing, and now they're going for another one here in the 30 Bomb Summer Cup.
I'm really excited to see what Renegades can do. We talked a bit at the start of this match about how Renegades has really only got one event under their belt since being signed, and Dapper pops off here with Zombs also firing on Nerfed. So all of a sudden we have a 4v2 on attack. Absolutely brutal for Renegades, but to finish my train of thought, Renegades with only one real big performance under their belt since being signed, I wanted to see how they could improve, and then after the first map, we saw some area for them to improve. They answered back, and I want to see if they can continue that trend, but this is a brutal start.
And this is exactly what you want on this attacking side. A pistol round under your belt, and Sage surely soon to fall as well. There goes the heal orb, but she has to peek into 3 defenders here, and the Classic does get the job done onto the first 2. That's an opportunity, but running very low on this spike. There's no time to do it. And to add insult to injury, 6 able to find that final headshot. 1-0.
Yep, 1-0 start, and they're going to be looking to propel them. We see a lot of ARs bought here. We see a Phantom with full armor on the side of Sick. The Bulldogs as well for Dapper and Zombs. Also one on the side of Shazam. So I like the defenders traditionally on split, but I think given what we just saw and also this kind of superior firepower, I would err on the side of this still being a Sentinels favored round. But again, so far in this match, every time I say that or every time I think somebody's favored, the underbought team starts to overperform. So we'll be looking to see if that's the case. Right now, creeping around in mid, trying to find some picks. Spike finally picked up, and Shazam finds CP2 there for an elimination. That's the kind of pick you want to get to start.
And this is where things start to get tough and tricky for Renegades. A player down, that starts to thin out this defense. Obviously, 3 players stacked towards this B site right now with Phoenix on the way. Winsome's right behind this attack, and it's all about timing. When is he going to pounce? The shotgun's unable to get the job done, and Winsome also taken out. It's a flawless round just like that. Sentinels up to their second.
It's a really big round for Sentinels because it was flawless. So all of those guns that they bought before, they can carry with them while banking some money. Meanwhile, on the other side, potentially pistols again. This is not looking good for the side of Renegades. Some sheriffs might be able to help them turn this around. Again, we know CP2, Randy Savage, Winsome, they can hit these headshots. They can turn the momentum, but this is not a great start. And you need this on defense on split.
And remember, this is something that Renegades have been doing pretty commonly. This second round force up, stacking, this time the B site. And unfortunately, it just doesn't pan out for them. All 5 frags found in very quick succession from the Sentinels. This Paranoia should be able to get a little bit of damage in, but Zombs, it's a massive spray down over towards the middle of the map. A couple of rifles salvaged, but this is a lose-lose situation here for Renegades. They're a member down right now. Members of this Sentinel squad all over this map and starting to apply all of the pressure. Sinatra's just too good.
I really feel like their game plan was to get those weapons and then just fall back for the save. And Sinatra catches the enemy Cypher during the middle of the reload animation. And then unfortunately, CP was so low on health, it was an easy cleanup. And that denied any hopes of taking those guns with them, trying to salvage some of their economy. But they do get to buy some ARs now. They're also going to go with 2 operators. Randy Savage doing so at the expense of any armor at all. Nerfed going to be going with the small armor here, likely so that they can purchase abilities as well. This is where they need to stem the bleeding. Renegades has to turn some of these defensive rounds back in their favor, and they really want to finish this half with a lead. I mean, this is split after all. If you can't finish with a lead when you're on defense, it's going to be dicey.
Yeah, certainly. This is where the defensive side really starts to come in and sting. When you lose that pistol along with the follow-ups as well, it's the 3-0 start, really just as good as it gets right now. And with the rifles in hand for the first time this map, this, as you said, is when Renegades need to find some successes. No early kills merited. And with a minute left, they're just holding serve, covering these corners, a couple of double man setups. Here towards Kevin is one of the main takeaway points here by this B bomb site. It's the anchor, and really just the initial frag found.
Yeah, Winsome does finally get first blood here, and that's great for the side of Renegades. I like that they slowed things down. They've been very good when they've been playing aggressive, but here on Split, you want to use this map to your advantage. Now, the enemy squad here, Sentinels, forced to make a play because of time running out, and CP2 finds a double. Nerfed picks off Sick, and it's just Dapper with this Bulldog against the full 5 squad. Does manage to take Bergie with him, but this will be the first round win for the side of Renegades. It's what they needed, and they need to snowball this. Again, on Split, you don't want to be in a situation where at the half you are down going into the attacking side. But I like what I saw with the patience there. Renegades has been very aggressive on the other maps, but I think here you need to hold your angles, and that's exactly what they did.
Certainly. We see Shazam's operator come through on the attacking side. I think for the first time this series, he's been playing with the automatic rifle a lot of the time, just preferential treatment given to that Phantom, which he's obviously so good with. And this time it's that opening pick. I don't think Bergie was expecting an AWP towards the bottom of mid, and instead just gets plucked out of action. This is where Jet needs to come through, and well, finally evens up these numbers. It's the Blade Storm, the knives in hand, and a little bit of further damage needed to prevent this push coming in.
So they've moved into mid here as they try to ascend the B tower. And through caster vision here, we know CP2 sitting. He catches Dapper with the knives, but kind of misses that second spray. Unfortunately, the right click on the knife sometimes can be a little bit unreliable, even at close range. Nerfed gets some damage before teleporting to safety. He's going to have to back out, and then they're going to likely look for a retake here as he waits for reinforcements to arrive. And now that they have Randy Savage creeping up here with the operator,
You're dead.
we're going to see Winsome here use the run it back to get a little bit of information. Doesn't get any damage or pressure applied. Just watching that heaven area. Couple of trades there, so now we're down to the 2v2. Shazam finds nerfed, but Winsome answers back. Now it's a 1v1, but Shazam with the high ground pulls his best Obi-Wan impression and gets another win for the attackers.
And it feels right now like Sentinels are starting to apply that pressure in all factors, limiting this economy down to what looks to be a force buy here for Renegades. They pick up a pair, a trio of Phantoms. Nerf also going for the Phantom as well, so it's not going to be the most ideal buy in the world, but the one saving grace you get from losing so many of these early engagements is rifles in pretty much back-to-back rounds right now. 1 to 4, this is where Renegades absolutely need to find not just a couple of opening picks, but a couple of back-to-back rounds. If this even goes 7-5, 6-6, obviously Sentinels are going to be feeling just great about this, and this attacking side shouldn't be favored by any means, but they're starting to dominate, and if they can get to 5-1, 6-1, they'll be, well, just with
a really nice pick for CP2 there.
Kill my allies.
Now, Sick with the res before Bergie answers back, catches Sick, but that was a really important pick in my opinion because CP2 took out the operator player. Almost got to safety. Now the res from Bergie again is going to give that advantage to Renegades, but Shazam picks off Winsome and Sinatra takes out Nerf. So Zom's putting pressure again. They're ascending this B tower. Cypher taking the spike down through B main, but this is going to be a 3v1. I don't think Randy Savage with this Guardian's going to be able to get this done. So this should be yet another win for the side of Sentinels. And this one is... I gotta say, this one is running away from Renegades and their ability to come back because they're on defense and they are kind of getting taken to the whipping shed here.
This really sucks for a defending side. Being 5-1 down, it's almost a write-off at this point. I think they need to win every single engagement here on out in terms of rounds. 7-5 a lot of the time isn't even good enough on a map like Split. Let's see what they can do. Obviously, they'll have buys in hand coming in. So these next engagements, Cypher should be able to save this single Phantom, but really it's not good enough at this point.
Strategically, if you're on the side of Renegades, what are you looking to do here? What are you looking to exploit? Because honestly, Sentinels have not been very predictable. They're just spreading out, they're playing for picks, and then once they've done that, they're pushing onto a site. So is there even anything you can do or change up if you're Renegades to try to turn this around?
On Split, it's a lot harder because you don't want to go for these aggressive plays. If you do, it has to be coordinated, and in a round like this where you've got pistols in hand, it's certainly not a round that you're expecting to take either. I talked about the economy being great, and well, they have to eat the eco here in round number 7, and that really sucks because you're likely giving away this 6-1 scoreline. Sentinels already looking to win this half, and don't think that the pressure is going to be depressed at that point. They'll keep applying it. They're going for 7, 8, 9 at this point, and well, really, if that comes through, it'll be game over already at halftime.
Sinatra with the grenade going out. They do have that numbers advantage because of the early pick here. Bergie does catch Dapper with a headshot. Sinatra here with just 5 health as well. Gonna retreat a little bit, maybe try to reposition here, find their Sage, and Zom's moving into the B site. They're gonna get the spike planted, so this is gonna put Renegades in a retake scenario. And with the 2 players coming from the tube and the other 2 coming up from the backside of B tower, they're going to have a lot of distance that they need to close. Shazam with this operator, watching for players to exit the smoke. Couple of rounds exchanged there. But with pistols, this is a tall order, and yeah, unfortunately, Sick takes out Randy Savage, but Winsome, one of the players there for Renegades that does have an AR, answers back, finds Sinatra. This timer's ticking down, though, so at this point, they either need to make a play or back out and go for the stage. They're making the play. They dive in. Zoms and Shazam answer, though. I'm a little surprised they went for the play, but perhaps this pressure of the round lead, now down 6-1, is the reason that they decided to make that call.
Yeah, I feel like they're really starting to feel the pressure. It doesn't make sense to just save the pistols in that scenario with guaranteed rifles carried through to round number 8. They should have made the investment into B earlier when there was still time on that spike. Doing economical damage to Sentinels right now just isn't good enough. That's not the end goal of that round. You need to find a couple of headshots at least with those sheriffs, with a couple of those SMGs as well, and start to clamp down towards that side of the map. We see once again that the buy's going to be fine. It's going to be favorable. And they finally eat this tactical pause. I think it's much needed. I'd have loved to see a pause actually a little bit earlier. This gives them a break of pace before this, I think, 4th rifle round where they can start to think about this one. Obviously, Sentinels don't need a break of pace whatsoever. They're going to be feeling fine about just getting straight back into the action, diving straight into this one, and taking even more rounds on their attacking side.
Yeah, they need to certainly reassess how they are approaching this defense. We see 3 on B now, 2 on A. Granted, this is a pause, so this might shift, but I said it before. What do you do if you are Renegades? Because Split is not the kind of map where you can do a lot differently. It is meant to be defender-sided in many ways. You want to hold these angles, and it does look like this is going to be the way they decide to defend this here. Meanwhile, on the side of Sentinels, they are sticking to their game plan of spreading out, trying to go for these early picks, and then using the numbers advantage in their favor.
I dropped the spike.
3. So 1-3-1. We got 3 mid as they slowly move up. They have the smoke there on the ropes connector. Bomb Buddy goes out. The wall now on the ropes connector as well. So going to be pushing up into this B tower where we see CP2 with the daggers lying in wait, but Sinatra takes him out with the showstopper. Bergie does answer with the operator. Keeps things even. Finds Shazam as well. And all of a sudden, we have a 4v2. Renegades have to like these odds. Bit of an exchange there. I'm really surprised that Sick survived that, if I'm being honest. Nerfed does finish off Sick. And now it's down to just Zoms. Does have the spike. Could go try to put some economic pressure, find some kills. Could maybe try to get another alt pip or some extra money. Not that they're hurting for cash, but if they want to attempt a plant, that's certainly on the table. You're not likely thinking round win at this point, but you don't want to just back out either.
No, the economy is firmly in Sentinel's favor. I don't think he's expecting to even get a plant out of this one. Just try and do a little bit of economical damage, and well, it'll be a phantom dropped as they swap it for the orb. 2-6, I think that tactical pause was more of a confidence play for Renegades. Obviously, they need to just start hitting their shots at that point. They're pressured on rounds. They're pressured all over this map. There's still the option and the ability to close this out 6-6, but even that's not really good enough. We've said it so many times, I feel like a broken record, but getting these operators in play and Bergie finally starting to hit shots, that's exactly what you want. You see, Omen's only got 1 kill thus far. It just feels like a lack of fragging power from Renegades, and that's not what you want on the defender's side on a map like this. Once again, it's Sinatra opening through onto the A site, and they can just back off and take this advantage.
Yeah, Sinatra doing it yet again, finding another first blood. He's been very great at doing that all throughout this particular matchup. And now with that advantage, well, Nerf answers with a lurk. Is traded out with Shazam finding him with the operator, but nonetheless, they still have this advantage, right? I feel like they are playing it safe, trying to get folks to get out of position, and we see exactly that. They are moving over to the B site because they haven't heard or seen from Sentinels in a while. And that appears to be by design, as they kind of just wait this out. Since the spike is still over there by A, I have to assume that they're going to wait till, you know, the 30, 35-second mark and then start making a play for A. Camera is on site A, but bodies are not. So this is going to put, essentially, once the spike goes down, Renegades in a 3v4 retake scenario.
Yeah, this is a massive disadvantage here. Obviously, with absolutely nobody for Renegades here on A, I feel like they almost have to just save the rifle at this point. Maybe Cypher tries to pitch in for that first frag, but if he goes down anytime soon, this round's absolutely over. And realistically, with the spike planted, all of the pressure's already been applied. Sentinels once again turning the screw. And here, the run it back might be the last lifeline here for the retake. Winston makes good ground here, but with Shazam nailing shot after shot. This is a shutaway once again. And the operator in the hands of Bergie shouldn't be able to do anything. Dapper annihilates him. 7-2 on the board once again. Sentinels keep the scoreline rolling.
I don't even know what to say at this point. This is not what I was expecting when we came on to split. I would not have predicted a 7-2 start in favor of the attacker. That's not to say that attacking is impossible on split. It's just so rare. But again, when we go back to bind and now here on split, apparently this particular matchup is just defying all traditional conventions, and the trend continues here. Sentinels playing very well, finding picks, knowing how to put the pressure, and we see that strategy here again. They're going with the 1-3-1, seeing if they can catch somebody peeking. They've pushed up into mid pretty well here. This bomb buddy's going to go out. Holding angles, waiting for somebody to peek. Now, one of the rounds earlier that Renegades actually did take was when they were patient and they held their angles. So I think that is the game plan still here, but not in a great spot.
No, it really can't look much worse right now for Renegades. They need a massive change of pace before halftime. 50 seconds left in this one. And with a less than favorable buy coming through, great paranoia to start things off, and the shotgun's able to chomp through for loads of damage. It's an even Stevens engagement, and Sick pulls it right on through. The spike easily can go down on the B site, and Cypher is completely caught in translation. He's locked out of this one, and surely shouldn't be able to get the job done. It's him versus the world, and Sinatra's headshot just piping in to secure number 8.
With 2 rounds left before the half, this is traditionally where you would say, okay, Renegades wants to win back-to-back so that they at least close the gap a little. Then if they win the pistol round, they can maybe propel to a second win after that, and then the margin isn't so bad, right? At that point, it would be 8-6, but that's just not looking likely right now. It feels like Sentinels are just putting the boots to Renegades, and I don't know how they bounce back. They need to get first bloods. There is exactly what they needed. Bergie does find Sick. I'd like to see some more aggressiveness out of Winsome, but again, what do you do on split to be aggressive? You can't really give up your defensive advantage. Sinatra here with a pick on Randy Savage, and that's going to even things up. Not quite a first blood, but not a shock to see Sinatra drawing it early. Yeoman teleport coming in.
Tripwire destroyed.
We're going to have a 4v4 here on A. A lot of posturing and utility going out. Bergie finds Shazam.
And Sentinels are starting to assert this control just on both sides right here. Finally, the res comes through and an opportunity without the spike down on the ground. Raze wants to make a play, but it's all about Renegades right now. They're finding all of these kills, and it's Sinatra versus 3 to try and finish. That incendiary isn't going to force him out of place, and instead he has to connect with the headshots once again. He's got pressure from the back, and as that dark cover starts to dissipate, Winsome applies the pressure from the top, and it's a third. An opportunity to close this 8-4. Let's see if we see any sort of momentum switch. You see Randy Savage, only 1 kill. And we're almost at the half-time mark here. Cypher's not necessarily known for his great fragging abilities, but 1-9, certainly not ideal here in the first half.
Yeah, it looks really bad when you're staring at it here on the scoreboard, but in Randy Savage's defense, many of the situations he's been in has been, you know, a 1v3, a 1v4 at the end of the round because he's usually on the side opposite of where folks are. Bergie gets an early pick here on Shazam, and that's huge for the side of Renegade. They will get this res off, though. But Randy Savage has just been in really bad situations, and I think that that score is reflecting it. So after the res, things are even, and they have full mid control now on the side of Sentinels as they're trying to push up. But Winsome denies with a double kill before Sick gets the trade. But that's going to be an advantage to Renegades again, even after the res.
With only a minute on the board and very little map control established, this is where it comes down to opening picks one more time for the Sentinels. If they can eliminate at least Jet towards A, then maybe that gives them a foothold into planting towards the pointy letter. But with the smoke down, completely locked out and through, CP2 actually does nail another before falling down and away. And finally an opportunity. The spike should go down here, but locked away on this A site. I think that Sage is going to have, well, her work cut out to escape into a favorable position, and with a position spotted once more, it's going to be exceptionally hard for Sentinels to reach number 9 before halftime. I love this patient play from Renegades, finally sweeping in from all angles and just trying to eviscerate this one. Randy Savage comes through with one of his first kills of the half, and Zom tries to get it all done, and it's the quick scope to finish. There's more than enough time, surely, to get this diffused through. And, well, that's going to be a 4th round before things are said and done.
Okay, so I said it before. You want to win the last 2. Now you need to win this pistol round so that you have an advantage and propel that to 2 in a row so that you're at least 8-6. Maybe Renegades can find a way to get back into this, but it's a pretty big hill to climb. So switching sides, Renegades now going on attack. Winsome has looked very good today when being aggressive. CP2 has as well. Hopefully that works out in their favor, but
This is a nice spot.
they've got to do something. I will say this, they've played significantly better since they took that pause. Taking that to catch their breath, settle down, I think it really benefited them, and I'm with you. I kind of wish they would have done it maybe when they were at the 1-4 mark as opposed to that 1-6 mark.
Right here, this is the must-win pistol round for Renegades. It's pretty much game over if they're unable to take it. Here, it's straight towards the B site. But on a map like Split,
No more
you
charges
realistically expect them to take much more than perhaps just a couple before this one finishes and closes out. The initial cyber cage goes through, and Dapper needs to connect with some headshots. There's a bonus right onto Winston. The crossfire comes in. It seems to be Sentinels initially closing this one down, but another 2 versus 2 scenario as Randy Savage pitches in with a pair of headshots. Zoms from the side, and with the spike down but not planted, this all comes down to the kills once again, and Shazam finishes. 9-4, Sentinels on the home straight.
Well, that is not the outcome you wanted if you were Renegades. I will say congratulations to Randy Savage, who did get that 3K. So we mentioned before that he was 1-9 at one point, I believe. But apparently Cypher is just better as an entry fragger. That's all we needed to see on the side of Randy Savage to get him in motion. They're going to, again, take this kind of force buy or buy up. This is pretty common even when they lose the pistol round on the side of Renegades. They've been doing this, so this is nothing new. But even more so, I think now is the right time to do it simply because they can't afford to lose too many more rounds. Some blind firing through the cage there. Not really connecting. Winsome does get a kill on Zoms, but Shazam finds 2 before CP2 ends Shazam's reign of terror. Sick continues to be sick and picks off Bergie, and this is still a numbers advantage in favor of Sentinels, and we've got the damage on CP2 as well. Sick finishes CP2 off, and so now it's just nerfed with no spike up against 3 players. And again, every round that you let slip away is a bigger hill to climb, and Dapper finishes off nerfed, and it's 10-4 in favor of Sentinels.
Absolutely. This looks like a runaway third and final map, unfortunately. The Sentinels have been dominating from start to seemingly the finish of this third map. And such a shame considering this has been an incredibly close series with both Ascent and Bind coming down to the absolute wire. No overtimes thus far, but I'm sure that we won't see one here in map number 3. It's just the 4 sheriffs, the single classic as the investment here in round number 15, and not really much that Renegades can do about this one. We'll likely see the scoreline convert 11-4, and anything but just a miracle at this point is going to finish this map off in a heartbreak for Renegades. Shazam again, a couple of quick kills, even trading, but with the spike dropped, this will be Sentinels just holding serve over by the A site. You see Raze starting to gesture into position, and this is a really unenviable position for Renegades right now. How are they going to be able to get back into this one?
I'm not sure that they can actually get back into this with Dapper finding Randy Savage there. It's looking pretty dire. Sinatra with the ability kill, excuse me, the zoning, right? It tells me that's a zoning ability, but it's now 11-4, and as you said, this is a runaway, and I'm a bit surprised simply because the first 2 maps were so close. It's not like one team ran away on their favored map, then the second team ran away on their favored map. It was 2 very tight contests, and then this one is a completely one-sided affair. I don't know if this is just because maybe Renegades is unfamiliar on Split. I don't know how much time or effort they've put into this particular map given the frequency that it's banned, or if maybe this is just Sentinel's favorite map. They seem to really enjoy playing on this right now because they're making it look easy. And that's a trade of kills there to start things off here, so it's still a 4v4, but Renegades trying to get mid control so that they can push somewhere. This wall's slowed them down a bit, but it's not a complete wall. There's still gaps. Can go over the box or through that little gap there, but I think they're just gonna catch their breath. Maybe hope that some folks have rotated away and we can see through our mini-map caster vision that that is indeed the case. So now they're going to ascend that B tower area, and thus far it's uncontested.
Absolutely, and it does feel like Sentinels, they find this advantage and turtle down onto these sites. Force Renegades to get aggressive and into these choke points where the crossfires are already established. And it all comes down to a couple of headshots to really determine who's going to take this one once again. An AWP shot missed to start things off. That's inopportune, and I don't think the Incendiary is going to do all too much here against Cypher. With the Cyber Cage giving him so much map control, he's going to go for the swings, both ends, and the crossfire established really does just finish things off here. Is nerfed. Oh, he hits a trio of shots. An opportunity here, but unable to find the final frag against Zoms. It is going to be 12-4 here, just as dominant as it gets.
That was a very close round there at the end after Nerf popped off with the triple, and it was a really rare miss from the side of CP2. You called it before. There was an opportunity that kind of slipped through their fingers when he missed the op shot, but unfortunately traveling down the ropes, you kind of didn't really have the scope lined up or your crosshair in the right position to capitalize. But given the way that ended, even that one kill would have made a huge difference. But the pressure is on Renegades. Their tournament life here being challenged. This is match point on game map number 3, and they're going to push into A. They just funnel in with the aggression. I really like this decision to just do something new and different. It's even trades on both sides. Now it's 3v3, but, well, with Zoms and CP2 trading there as well, it's now a 2v1 in favor of Sentinels. Can CP2 do it enough? Oh, that bomb buddy is rough when you've got the daggers out. You can't really afford to kill it with the daggers, and that's going to be it. Sentinels will move on.
Yeah, that's a really disappointing final map for Renegades, all things considered. able to take it to map number 3. I didn't think that we were going there based on Bind being the second map, but that was a really confident play for them. I think that on paper, they'll be disappointed that they were unable to take Ascent. That was a very close, remember, 10-10 at a certain point, and obviously just a pistol round for Shazam was able to completely take it over the top with the eco. 11-10, and as of that point, it was finished off. Just, yeah, blasting all the way back to Ascent there. And that's got to be a bit of a head scratcher coming through into this one. It's got to put you on the back foot coming into map number 2 as well. And really, I'm actually happy